Most people believe they stay poor or financially stuck because they simply don't earn enough money. That's a comforting but dangerous lie. The harsh truth is that the vast majority of people remain broke, live paycheck to paycheck, or feel constantly anxious about money not because of low income, but because of three destructive money habits they repeat every single month, often without even realizing how much damage they are causing. Today, I'm going to expose these three habits in clear detail so you can finally see what's really holding you back from building real wealth. My name is Lucas from Lucas Invests. Here's what makes this revelation both important and deeply uncomfortable. These three habits don't look or feel like mistakes. In fact, they feel completely normal, reasonable, and even responsible to most people. Society, advertising, your friends, and social media all reinforce them every day. But over time, these seemingly innocent habits quietly drain your potential for wealth and keep you trapped in the same exhausting financial cycle no matter how many raises, promotions, or bonuses you receive. Think about this for a second. Two people can earn almost the exact same salary for 15 or 20 years. One person stays broke, stressed, and dependent on every paycheck well into their 60s. The other builds real wealth, gains freedom, and has actual options in life. The difference was never their income level, education, intelligence, or luck. It came down entirely to which money habits they allowed to control their daily financial decisions. Now, there's one powerful metaphor I want you to keep in mind throughout the entire video because it perfectly illustrates what's happening inside your finances. Imagine you're desperately trying to fill a large bucket with water so you can survive and thrive, but there are three large holes punched in the bottom of that bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it keeps draining out almost as fast as you add it. You can work harder, get a higher-paying job, pour faster, or even switch to a bigger bucket. But until you identify and plug those three specific holes, you will never be able to hold on to real, lasting wealth. Those three holes are precisely the money habits we're going to break down today. Let me introduce you to someone very relatable, a guy named Marcus. Marcus is 41 years old. He lives in Denver and earns $98,000 a year as an operations manager. He has a decent salary, good benefits, pays his bills on time, keeps some money in a savings account, and even contributes to his 401k. On the surface, Marcus looks like a responsible, hardworking adult who is doing okay with money. He has the classic, "I'm doing fine, I'm responsible" skin on. But when you look beneath the surface, Marcus is unknowingly practicing all three of these destructive money habits at a high level. And because they feel so normal to him and to everyone around him, he has no idea that these habits are the primary reason he still feels financially stuck and anxious despite making a solid income. The first habit keeping Marcus and millions of others poor is lifestyle creep, also known as lifestyle inflation. This is the silent and most dangerous killer of wealth. Every single time Marcus gets a raise, a bonus, or any extra income, he automatically upgrades his lifestyle without conscious thought. He leases a nicer car, moves to a better apartment in a more desirable neighborhood, takes more expensive vacations, starts eating at upscale restaurants more frequently, and buys higher quality gadgets and clothes. He justifies every upgrade by telling himself, "I work hard, I deserve this," or "Life is short. Why not enjoy it?" Within 12 to 18 months, his monthly expenses have quietly risen to match or even exceed his new income level. The gap between what he earns and what he actually keeps for building wealth remains almost zero. This isn't bad luck or bad timing. This is a deeply ingrained, automatic habit. The second habit destroying his long-term progress is treating every dollar as spending money instead of seeing it as capital that should be put to work. Marcus looks at any extra money that comes into his account and immediately thinks about what he can buy or experience with it right now. In sharp contrast, someone building real wealth looks at the exact same money and asks a completely different question. How can this money start generating more money for me in the future? That single shift in perspective creates dramatically different outcomes over a decade or two. The third habit is unconscious and mindless spending, the small daily leaks that add up to massive financial losses over time. Marcus doesn't carefully track where his money really goes. He has multiple streaming services and subscriptions he forgot he was paying for, buys lunch and expensive coffee every workday because it's convenient, makes impulse purchases because it's only $35 or $50, and constantly pays for convenience without calculating the real long-term cost. Each individual decision feels small and harmless in the moment, but when you add them all together over a full year, these tiny leaks are quietly costing Marcus between $9,000 and $13,000 annually, money that could have been invested and compounding instead of disappearing forever. By the way, if you're getting real value from this kind of honest, no-fluff breakdown, hit subscribe right now. Otherwise, YouTube's algorithm may never show you videos like this again. Let's go much deeper into each of these 3 habits so you can clearly recognize how they are operating in your own life right now. First habit, lifestyle creep. This is by far the most common and destructive of the 3. Decades of behavioral economics research, including Daniel Kahneman's work on hedonic adaptation, proves that when a person's income increases, their spending almost always rises to match it within 12 to 18 months. Marcus received a promotion and raise last year. He celebrated by upgrading his car and moving to a nicer area with better schools. Now his expenses have caught up completely, and he feels like he's making the same money as before the raise. He successfully upgraded his lifestyle, but he did not upgrade his net worth or his future financial freedom. People who eventually build serious wealth do the exact opposite. When their income rises, they deliberately keep their lifestyle the same or increase it only slightly, and direct the majority of the extra money into productive assets. That intentional gap between income and spending is what compounds into real wealth over time. Second habit, treating money primarily as consumption instead of capital. This is a fundamental mindset error that separates those who stay stuck from those who build freedom. Marcus sees $3,000 extra and his brain immediately thinks vacation, new TV, or a nice dinner. A wealthy-minded person sees the same $3,000 and thinks, how many shares of a low-cost index fund is this? Or how much future passive income can this generate? One person consumes the money immediately and gets temporary pleasure. The other makes the money reproduce and work for them while they sleep. Over 10 or 20 years, this single habit creates an enormous and ever-widening gap. Third habit, unconscious spending and death by 1,000 small cuts. Marcus swipes his card mindlessly throughout the week. He doesn't track his expenses in any real detail. He pays for convenience without thinking about the cumulative cost. These small, repeated decisions don't feel like financial mistakes when they happen, but they quietly destroy any realistic chance of building meaningful wealth. What looks like harmless daily spending becomes tens of thousands of dollars lost over a decade, money that could have been growing in the market instead of vanishing into thin air. These 3 habits working together create a toxic combination known as affluent poverty, looking successful and comfortable from the outside, while remaining financially fragile, stressed, and one emergency away from trouble on the inside. Now let's make this painfully real with actual numbers so you can see the long-term impact. If Marcus continues practicing these 3 habits, even with regular raises and promotions, by the time he turns 60, he will most likely have less than $450,000 saved. That amount is barely enough to maintain his current lifestyle and retirement, which means he will still feel financial pressure and anxiety well into his 60s and 70s. But what if Marcus makes the decision to break all 3 habits starting today? He stops lifestyle creep completely, keeps his expenses stable even as his income continues to grow, redirects the difference aggressively into investments, starts treating every extra dollar as capital instead of spending money, and plugs all the unconscious leaks by tracking and ruthlessly cutting unnecessary expenses. Suddenly, he is able to invest an extra $1,200 to $1,500 per month instead of his current $400. At a conservative 7% average annual return, that seemingly small difference over the next 19 years becomes truly life-changing. He doesn't just end up with more money in his accounts. He ends up with real options, real freedom, and the ability to choose how he wants to live in his 50s instead of being forced to work until traditional retirement age. Marcus is now standing at a critical fork in the road in his financial life. He can continue doing what feels normal and comfortable, upgrading his lifestyle with every raise, spending unconsciously, and treating money as something to consume immediately. Or he can make 3 deliberate, consistent changes and finally break the cycle that has been keeping him poor despite earning a good salary for years. The encouraging news is that you don't need superhuman willpower or a massive salary increase to fix this problem. You need better systems and better thinking. Automate your investments so the money is moved before you even see it. Create strict personal rules before allowing any lifestyle upgrades. Track every single expense for just 30 days so the leaks become visible and painful enough to fix. Unfortunately, most people who watch this video will never actually make these changes. Not because they lack intelligence or discipline, but because these 3 habits feel safe, familiar, and socially acceptable. Everyone around them is doing the exact same things. But if you're watching this right now and you're tired of feeling financially stuck despite working hard and earning decent money, then this is your clear wake-up call. The 3 money habits keeping you poor are not permanent. They can be identified, confronted, and replaced with much better ones. And when you finally break them, your financial life will begin to improve faster than you currently believe is possible. Hit subscribe if you want more straightforward, no BS videos that expose the real reasons most people stay financially stuck even when they earn good money. Because in the end, the habits you repeat every single month are far more powerful and important than the salary you earn. I'll see you in the next one.